The ongoing SANDF saga in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 14 South African soldiers have lost their lives and others remain in captivity, has raised the ire of many South Africans. Calls for accountability have grown louder, with many demanding that the President and Defence Ministers take responsibility. Joining us to discuss this is Zama Ntshona, spokesperson for the African Transformation Movement. Zama, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Now, can you give us an update on the current situation in the DRC and the status of South African troops?
Thank you so much. Good morning to you and, in fact, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you and the viewers. Well, for us as the African Transformation Movement, on the basis of the information that has been released, we do know that there are about 2,000 plus soldiers who are in Kivu and Goma, and they are reportedly captured. Now, you would remember that though many have actually glorified the hard-fought or stand of the SANDF, but at this point we know that they then were without ammunition. We know that they did not have an eye in the sky, as over 388 aircrafts of the Republic of South Africa, as according to the 2023-2024 report, were actually awaiting repairs. So for us as the African Transformation Movement, that state is a worrisome state. And also maybe I should include that the report which was given by the Minister and the Deputy Minister of Defense, that they actually told the President that we are not ready to engage. And the President went on regardless of the warnings. So those for us are pivotal things to look into as we were preparing for the catastrophic showing that has actually happened in the DRC.
Well, there are calls for accountability, right, of the Defence Minister and the President. What are your thoughts on who should take responsibility?
Thank you so much. For us as the African Transformation Movement, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of South Africa is the President. And when you look at the President and his term of office goes beyond what the current minister has. So he is the one who said through 3 ministers of defense that we have had in the 6th administration coming to the 7th administration. So he is in a better position to see to it, if he wanted to do so, deal with the issues of inadequate financing of the defense force. Not only that, the President, as the one who has been in office longer than any of the 3 ministers of defense we have had in the 6th and the 7th administration, could have seen that the trajectory from the previous administration when it comes to underfunding and the quality of the resources that we have in the defense ministry, he could have actually done all that could have been done. So for us as the African Transformation Movement, as much as we are saying to the less than a year-old minister occupying the position, that minister, yes, must be held liable, but she cannot be held liable more than the President. The President is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, knowing fully well that for over 7 years, there's been epic underfunding. He knows very well that we do not have air support, knowing very well that some of the machinery that was deployed in the DRC were peacekeeping machinery in an environment that we know that over the past 2 years has been hostile to a point that this was more than just a peacekeeping mission. For us as the African Transformation Movement, we believe that the buck stops with the President.
Now, Zama, if you indicate, and your information is correct, that indeed the President was aware of many factors that would have suggested that don't send the troops, don't send the SANDF soldiers to the DRC, could there be underlying factors that urged, pushed or encouraged the President to still send the troops despite the issues that you've raised?
These are critical questions. I'm happy that you are raising that, because part of the questions that we are asking right now, if the Tutsis, the M23, who we understand, especially when you listen to former statesman Thabo Mbeki speaking on the 1994 phenomenon of the DRC, he says the problem was when the Rwandan-speaking Congolese were not fully recognized. They did not have voting rights. They were not able to be integrated within the society. And now you remember the history, the Berlin Conference, when it was demarcating the superpowers were actually taking Africa and demarcating. They never looked at where the other tribe, the lands of the tribe end. And in the case of the Tutsis, or the Rwandans speaking around the borderline of Congo, there was a separation of that land in half. Then half of Rwandans were in Rwanda in that area and half were in Congo. And there are now groups within Congo that did not want to recognize. Now, the president is fully aware of those dynamics. And unfortunately, the president in this case, unlike the Palestinian phenomenon, where there are people who are deprived of being included into society, took a particular posture that is not consistent with that, number one. But two, we are asking ourselves that if the president indeed, as General Bantu Holomisa on live television, actually said that we actually raised the issue of underfunding, we raised the issue of the eye in the sky, the helicopters and the fighter jets not being ready, and the president still went on. The big question right now is, was he willing to sacrifice the lives of the soldiers of South Africa without any extraction plan? Because we're sitting right now, yes, we had there were reinforcements, but there is no clarity on extraction. Because also when you were listening to his sauna, we appreciate that he said we are going to mourn the soldiers are coming back, but he did not give us the date on when these soldiers are coming back. Now, without an extraction plan, a clear extraction plan, why did the president deploy? Now, for us, this is why it is about time that the president comes clean about his intentions of deploying an under-resourced army to a hostile environment. And the posture that we have taken, where we have now looked at some members of society who, in the initial stages, were just saying we want to be recognized. And we know that the matter has escalated since then. But for us, as the African Transformation Movement, we believe that that question is very important. There are other speculations that are around this on issues of when you look at a 400-kilometer radius around Kivu and Goma, you are looking at wealth beyond measure, minerals, and that are deposited in that area that seem to be a bone of contention for not only Rwandans, but the continent of Africa and beyond. There are people who are interested in that. So such speculations, they call for thorough investigations so that we know that our president is not captured when he makes such decisions. But truly, as we sit here and watch what is happening, it is truly eye-raising the issue of a president who, knowing that we do not have full support and no extraction plan whatsoever, would send our troops to an environment of that nature.
My final question, Zama, comes back to the troops themselves. Now, 14 soldiers who perished in the DRC, their remains recently repatriated, and some of those have already been laid to rest across the country. Now, there was a real struggle to move those bodies from Goma finally to Entebbe. Now, let's talk about the morale of the soldiers, or the absence of any morale, particularly when you take into account that even if they are to be extricated, the remains of the 14 were extremely difficult to move. What is their morale situation, potentially not knowing how they can be moved and brought back home?
Oh, the morale should be extremely low. Now, remember, and not just morale being low, they should be scared right now. The reports that we got was that our soldiers were able to actually kill over 600 of the M23 soldiers before they ran out of ammunition. Now, if you were in that position, what do you think the enemy would do when they finally get you? So it's not just a question of morale. It is a question of Our soldiers right now are dispossessed, as according to reports, of their arms. And even if they did have those arms, they did not have the ammunition. They are not able to respond. There is no air support in sight. When you listen and read some of the reports on this, completely surrounded. Now, every hour that goes by, the question is, when are they going to kill us? So that situation should never, any patriot of this country, any individual who has devoted him or herself to die for this country, must never be limited by the bureaucracy of the country or the inadequacies of the management of a directorate or a country to be able to execute a task. And
Zama,
right now,
incredible issues that you raise, and appreciate all the insights that you've shared with us. Zama Ntshona, spokesperson for the African Transformation Movement, and calling on President Cyril Ramaphosa to be accountable for what he calls that debacle in the DRC concerning the SANDF troops.